Connected with your Big 12 sports update. This is the Big 12. This is a different league.
Hey, this is Coach McGuire from Texas Tech University. You're listening to the Big 12 Radio exclusive on TuneIn.
Big 12 Today with Ari and James. Monday through Friday, 8 a to 11 a Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
Welcome into another edition of Big 12 Today here on Big 12 Radio. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast channel. That dancing man is Ari Timken. I'm James Westling.
They're not like us, James. They're not like us.
They're not like us. Will we ever hear this song without a very emphatic "they not like us"?
No.
No.
Never.
It's a tradition that never graduates.
Never. No, absolutely not. And they're not like us.
They are not like us.
No.
Taman Turner is our producer on the audio side. We've got our guy Anthony Smith, our producer on the video side. Ari is working ahead of schedule, already sending his top 5 matchups at the crack of dawn, which we will be going over next segment. The Big 12 football schedule is officially out. We teased it a little bit yesterday with that Arizona-BYU matchup, which is super early in the calendar.
So you do or do not have your top 5 matchups?
Oh, I've got my top 5 matchups. I've got like a dozen matchups.
Well, I just need 5.
The hard part was narrowing it down to 5.
We're not power ranking, by the way. Important distinction here.
Okay.
It's not a Wednesday,
Okay.
so we're not power ranking.
Okay.
We're just talking about discussing open discourse on the top 5 Big 12 matchups for the 2025 or 2026 season.
Well, then I'm excited to see how many we have that are the same. Because I tried, variety is the spice of life. Live, laugh, love.
It's the third day in a row you've said that.
It's a theme in our house right now. It's another story.
Is it?
Yeah, we got one of our kids is on a big live, laugh, love kick. Just runs around the house.
Saying it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Watching the national championship game Monday. I mean, I'm on pins and needles. Indiana, Miami. I'm like, who's going to be the Big 12 team there next year? This should have been Texas Tech. That should have been BYU. What about Utah? And I'm getting live, laugh, love. Live, laugh, love, guys. It's a really unique intersection.
Now I know what to get you for your birthday, though. That's good. Just like a placard that says live, laugh, love?
Yeah. We'll set it right here.
Yeah. No, for the house.
Oh, for the house.
Something really nice.
Perfect.
That
Well-
next time I come over, I'll hopefully see prominently displayed somewhere.
We'll put it on the mantle, maybe above a doorway.
Just a picture of you with the with the caption, live, laugh, love.
All smiles all the time in the Westling house. All right, so the Big 12 football
Lacey be like,
schedule-
where am I? No. It's just James.
Are you living, are you laughing, or are you loving?
Let's just go to Etsy.com and try to find it.
All right, man, we've got Scott Draper. He's going to join us in studio, the Big 12 Chief Football and Competition Officer at around 8:20. And then Fran Fraschilla from ESPN, college basketball analyst, Arizona, stands on business. Late in the game, they take down Cincinnati last night. A really nice low-key win on the road for West Virginia at Arizona State. Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of GoPowerCat.com, will be in hour number 3. That is the Kansas State affiliate because part of our Transfer Portal Tracker series, we hit the Kansas State Wildcats today. We had KU yesterday. We had K-State today. We're going from the bottom of the standings to the top, so we've done a whole handful of teams like Oklahoma State and UCF and Baylor, and now we're working our way up to the middle part of the conference. All right, it's a Three Things Thursday. Your initial thoughts with the Big 12 football schedule release. We've also got some big news as it pertains to the Big 12 championship game and what that schedule's going to look like moving forward. But what was the headline from yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's a little shocking to see all these schedules with just one bye week. We become accustomed to multiple bye weeks during the season. And so, I think the impact that the single bye week will be interesting. I mean, some teams with early bye weeks, Kansas, Arizona State, BYU, to name a few. Kansas and Arizona State are going to get their bye week following their week 3 matchup in London. So when you think about early season bye weeks, not having that second bye week, that could be huge. There's obviously 2 international games with the week 0 matchup between TCU and North Carolina. I would imagine Bill Belichick's squad will be a little bit more credible year 2 under Belichick.
Sure hope so.
Yeah.
Or there won't be a year 3.
Right. So that game will be in Dublin. And then, yeah, week 3, the Union Jack Classic between Kansas and Arizona State stands out. I think Texas Tech is the easiest schedule. And I think, a year ago, 2 years ago, trying to do this exact exercise is sort of futile because it was difficult to gauge who would be at the top of the Big 12 and where the tough matchups might be. I feel like now it's easier to predict conference records because it's easier to see who's going to be the top and who's going to be at the bottom. Look, there's going to be some surprise teams. Don't get me wrong. There always is. But, pretty sure Texas Tech is going to be at the top of the conference. Pretty sure BYU is going to be the top of the conference. Right now, 2 straight years of BYU being really, really good. Texas Tech, what they're doing, obviously, they're going to be. So I feel like whereas a couple of years ago, Arizona State came out of nowhere to win the Big 12, that's less likely to happen in 2026. So we can get a better idea and projection of what teams' records might look like based on, again, having a pretty good sense of which teams should be at the top of the conference.
Definitely. And I would say last season, the league was way more top-heavy than the year before. We had 3 teams in the final top 13 of the college football playoff rankings, and going into the season, we felt like it could be Utah. BYU was maybe a big surprise that we didn't see coming because of the Retzloff to the true freshman, Bear Bachmeier situation, but we knew Texas Tech had a top 10 roster in college football, and that's not going to change. And so now that there's proof that, hey, this is going to work in Lubbock, they're not going anywhere. Utah has Devin Dampier back. BYU's got almost their entire team back. They're clearly not going anywhere based off of what they've done the last 2 seasons. And so I think some of it's probably the sample size was too small. The Big 12 was very new. We added teams, 16-team conference. Well, now this is year 3 of that sample size, and so trends and patterns and teams start to develop and kind of etch their name in Big 12 lineage. But then you do still have like a Houston last year and in Arizona. So when I saw the schedule, I thought, okay, who could those teams be? Like we have a really good, and I'm with you, 1,000%. It's going to be the brass at the top. But then who could win 9 games? Who could be in a position, like Houston was at one point in time, to win maybe 10 games in the regular season? Who are those teams going to be? We'll have to ask Scott Draper about the bye situation because last year, you noted there were 2 byes for everybody. This year, some teams have a window where they'll have 2 based on their schedule. Most everybody has just 1. And is that because of the calendar? Is there 1 less week in college football? Like, we're playing the same number of games. There's still a week 0 game with TCU in North Carolina. Championship Saturday or Championship Fridays on December 4th. Last year it was on the 6th. Like, what am I missing? How did we do that?
You could have something with Labor Day.
Okay.
Just don't ask me to go any further than that.
That's more than I know.
You know me, math is not my strong suit, and this feels like it's math tertiary here, so I try to avoid it at all costs.
Scott will know.
Scott will know.
There's one guy.
This is the reason we've invited Scott Draper into our home today.
All right, another question for you when you look at the schedule. Do your eyes go to late in the year, marquee conference matchups, or do you start at the front with even some of these high-profile non-conference games that the league, once again, we're going to have 13 bangers in the non-conference?
Well, first, I'm completely and utterly overwhelmed. That's my first thought is, whoa, where do I look first?
Yeah.
Then I go to Texas Tech schedule. Then I go to BYU schedule. And then I kind of make my way through, okay, what are the exciting non-conferences? And then finally to the grand finale. It's kind of my process. And then I look at it another 700 times.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's like, wait, what? Who has what? They,
yes.
It's hard to commit this to memory.
Oh, memory? Playoffs? Memory?
Yeah.
No, that's a no-go.
Tried to do like a mnemonic device to really make sure I can memorize it. You ever done anything stuff like that? Like studied mnemonics, where the art of memorization?
I read a book.
Did you?
Yeah.
What was the book called?
I read a book. I don't remember the title of the book about memory, but it did have some helpful things.
Did it rhyme? Was it like 20 pages?
No, it was some really weird things for remembering names, and I used it for play-by-play purposes to try to remember names and numbers when it comes to football. Basketball, there's only 7 guys you really need to know.
Did you create a memory palace? Did you do that?
Oh, I've got. There is a palace, yes.
Yeah.
There's a palace up here. It's a palace, and it worked a little bit.
Well, basically, the gist of the memory palace is that human beings naturally have a great spatial awareness. So it's like I guess a defense mechanism naturally built into us, where like if you go to a new house, your subconscious will know where things are in that house very quickly.
Yeah.
So like we have just great intuitive spatial awareness. So you're supposed to use that to your advantage in your memory. So basically the mnemonic device is that you go into a house that you grew up in that you know very well, and you place your memories, the things you want to memorize, in different rooms and different spots of the memory palace. And the more you do that, the more you can memorize things.
Yeah, I have heard that before. And people use it for TED Talks. People are on stage, no notes. You've got to be up there 20, 30 minutes, or any type of presentation. The first part of your speech is the entryway. The next chunk of your speech is the kitchen.
Walk back there, grab this. Yep. You got to use your spatial awareness to your advantage. I don't know why that came up, but it felt like it was necessary.
I read the memory book, the classic guide to improving your memory at work, at school, and at play, and it was recommended to me by the radio play-by-play announcer Tony Caridi of West Virginia. It's got some really weird stuff in it, but it works.
The next time Tony Caridi comes on Big 12 Radio, will be the first.
Well, and he'll remember it like it'll be a core memory. We'll have to ask him about the book when it happens.
What other questions about the schedule do you have?
Non-conference games. When you look at the non-conference games, because I went there first, and we had some tremendous matchups last year, but we've got some new ones. Like we know Oklahoma State and Oregon are going to play this year in Stillwater, which will be awesome for Eric Morris and his first home game. Welcome to the Big 12. You open at home. It's his home opener because they play at Tulsa.
Right.
To open the season. You get Oregon in Stillwater at Boone Pickens, but man, that environment, like they're going to show up for that. It's going to feel like Oklahoma State of old. But then Arizona State plays Texas A&M, week 2, in College Station. A tremendous opportunity there for Arizona State to make a statement, even if they don't win the game, just to compete with a Texas A&M team.
No, it's huge.
It was top 3 pretty much all year long. Colorado plays Georgia Tech. Houston plays Oregon State. Kansas plays Missouri. Texas Tech has the back end of their 2-year series with Oregon State. So the non-conference was another thing that I looked at. We also get West Virginia and Virginia in Charlotte, neutral field where the Panthers play. That'll be a banger.
Cincinnati, Boston College. There's a lot of good ones. TCU, North Carolina, and Dublin. But the biggest one of all, BYU, Notre Dame, week 7.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
I mean, that's going to crack my top 5. Not a power ranking, but definitely one of the 5 biggest matchups of the Big 12.
Well, then we will have one that will be the same.
I bet we'll have multiples that'll be the same.
I don't know why I said that like I was trying to one-up you. Oh, you have BYU, Notre Dame? So do I.
So do I. I also think that's a big game.
The other note, the Big 12 championship game. So we were talking about this yesterday on a 3 Things Thursday. Let me get this right. So the Big 12 championship game this year will be on a Friday, which we think is really cool. It's not going to be on a Friday every year moving forward. The Big 12 championship game is going to move between Friday and Saturday going forward under the ESPN deal. So 2026, it's a Friday year. 2027, odd years, it will be a Saturday Big 12 championship. So what we're doing is this television shuffle involves the Big 12, the American, and the ACC. So when the Big 12 is on a Friday, that will give the ACC the Saturday slot. And then when the Big 12 is on a Saturday, and it will be at noon Eastern, the American will slide into the ACC's spot, and they'll have the Friday game.
No.
The American will have the Friday game.
The American's the one that's getting the ACC slot. They're getting the Saturday night showdown to go head-to-head with the Big Ten. Basically, ESPN, it appears, is saying, waving the white flag and competing with Fox during the Big Ten championship. Mm-hmm. And so it's moving the ACC into a more desirable spot that will rotate with the Big 12. So it's putting, I would say from ESPN's vantage point, maybe not their SEC level brand, but their Tier 2 level brands in the ACC and the Big 12 into alternating windows on Friday night and Saturday morning.
So when the Big 12 game is on a Friday, the ACC will have the Saturday noon Eastern spot.
Correct.
When the Big 12 is on a Saturday,
the ACC will have the Friday night spot.
Got it. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. That's how it was working in my brain.
Yeah.
The ACC and the Big 12 are going back and forth between the Friday and Saturday spot. I like it. Either way, the Big 12 gets a prime window.
Well, and I think you have to look at some of this stuff, which, sometimes it can get a little probably boring to a degree. But I think, if we think about this thing big picture, right? So when the next TV deal is up for the Big 12, if you go and you've got great television ratings on a Friday night game, and then you also have great ratings on a Saturday game, that's a pretty compelling storyline to tell any network when your deal opens back up, right? And the Big 12 is already, in bed, if you will, with CBS and NBC now in a capacity that they hadn't previously been. And so I would imagine, and TNT, based on that those networks would probably want to get even more in bed because they've already invested into the infrastructure and into the programming and everything else, right? So it would make a ton of sense to continue to invest. So long way to say that part of this too is sort of proving yourself on the national stage in a way that says we could draw ratings on a Friday night, on a Saturday, whatever, which again probably plays in the larger discussion towards the next negotiation when it comes to TV rights. This is all about TV rights and the future trajectory of TV rights, because remember, the Big 12's relevance and not just relevance, but existence is dependent upon, another TV deal coming up in 2027, 2028, or whatever, 2030, whatever it is, that is, far exceeds what the last TV deal was that Yormark got.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be huge. And the third thing on this Three Things Thursday, it's three things. The SP Plus rankings, love this. You throw this in here?
Of course.
Dynamite drop. Texas Tech finishes third. Utah finishes 8th. BYU finishes 18th. These are Bill Connolly of ESPN. This is the only college football metrics system that gets the attention that I think these metrics systems need. College basketball, we've got NCAA net rankings. We've got KenPom. We've got Torvik. We've got Evan Mia. College football, we have a bunch of grown men in a boardroom dictating who gets in the college football playoff. So I love this stuff because it's the deep dive data, and it has Texas Tech top 3.
Yeah, Texas Tech is 3 in the final SP Plus of the season. So Indiana 1, Ohio State 2, Texas Tech 3, Oregon 4, Notre Dame 5, Georgia 6. So the top SEC school is Georgia at 6. Meanwhile, Utah is at 8, and BYU is at 18. So
where's Miami?
Miami is at 10. So the Big 12 has 2 schools at 9. So the Big 12 has 2 schools ahead of Miami in the final SP Plus rankings. But Texas Tech at 3 says a lot.
They were legit, is what it says. And Miami, being at number 10 or 9 or whatever they are, and playing in the national championship game tells me that they were a true Cinderella. They were a Cinderella in the college football playoff, which also further magnifies that it matters who gets into the field.
Yeah.
Because you've got a Cinderella team that makes it to the Natty. So college basketball, we look at all these different data points. College football, we just say, they passed the eye test. Tough schedule. We're going to put them in.
Yeah, no, it is bizarre. The metrics, the advanced analytical field is deep in basketball and shallow in football. But I think it speaks to, does one game dictate your entire season, right? If the narrative around the Big 12 is, look, they laid another egg in the playoff, the metrics tell a completely different story.
And the metrics matter. And it is shallow, 3-foot pool. All right, coming up next, we are staying on schedule. Ari and I have our top 5 favorite Big 12 matchups for the upcoming season. The schedule is out. And can we make a case for a non-Texas Tech or BYU or Utah, somebody else, to win double-digit games before we play Let's Get It On? Here in this first hour, he's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo.
To an NCAA tournament appearance last season as we are officially underway. Arizona State wins the toss.
You can't give up a wide open one in that 2-3. You've got to be able to turn around, box out, finish that defense early, and not give up easy rebounds for second chance opportunities.
Already a better start for her than her last performance against West Virginia as a member of the Pitt Panthers. But that is not where certainly not where Arizona State expected to be this year. West Virginia, a lot of changes is inside the dish. Wheeler will finish underneath again.
Work the basketball around. Make the defense have to do their job.
One of the best offensive rebounding teams in the Big 12 starting to take over here in the early stages of this second quarter. And there it is.
On Sydney Woodley, who is one of the better defenders there on West Virginia.
Gorgeous dish from CeCe Riviere. And she finds the Californian Sydney Woodley. Physical first half for last year Poa. Nice dish down low. Even better move from out to in. Is just a shade short. Harrison quickly the other way, wants it in transition. She'll finish. West Virginia had gone nearly. Williams working here near wing and is stripped of the basketball. West Virginia's Shaw sends up. Wheeler, can she finish? Yes, we're tied again. Sends over to Gia Cook. She thought about that three. Harrison kicks into the corner. Opportunity for Shaw for three, and West Virginia. This will go West Virginia's way, so it was not pretty for either of these sides, but West Virginia is going to pick up their 16th win of the season in 20 games.
1 minute.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn. We are brought to you by Modelo, where off-season optimism is mandatory. And today we take a look at the Kansas State Wildcats in hour number 3, part of our Transfer Portal Tracker series. Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of GoPowerCat.com, is going to join us a little bit later on the program. Scott Draper, the Big 12 Chief Football and Competition Officer, will be on the show. He's going to join us in studio at 8:20 sharp Central Time here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. But we play a little Let's Get It On each and every Thursday. Thank you. Taman has the topics. Ari and I debate. So let's get it on.
All right, guys. Topic number 1. Which Big 12 head coach is in the best position to become the next Curt Cignetti?
Which Big 12 coach is in the best position to become the next Curt Cignetti? I would lead with none, because he is
One of one.
one of one. With that said,
Which Big 12 coach is the best position to be the next Nick Saban?
Bill Snyder had a little Curt Cignetti to him. All right, so the way I take the question is, who are the elite evaluators of talent and players and prospects that nobody else sees? Because Bill Snyder did that his first time around at K-State, brought in a bunch of JUCO guys that he saw had potential. Cignetti grabs a bunch of guys at James Madison, takes them with him to Indiana, and wins a natty. Could argue Joey McGuire in Texas Tech with James Blanchard. Maybe Eric Morris, because I highlight the quarterback position and the fact that he saw something in Baker Mayfield that nobody did, saw something in Cam Ward that nobody did, and saw something in Drew Mestemaker that nobody did, who wasn't even starting for his high school team. So maybe just in terms of comps, I'd lean there.
Let's get it on!
Sounds good.
Good it sounds?
Good it sounds.
All right.
Topic number 2. How many 10-win teams will there be in the Big 12 next football season?
I say 3. There were 3 this year? 4 this year?
In the regular season?
Total.
Yes. Total.
Regular season, there were 3. Texas Tech, BYU, and Utah.
Let's get it on!
Each won 10 or more games this past season.
Yeah, I think we're looking at BYU, Texas Tech, and Houston as my 3 10-win teams for the regular season.
I go 3 as well. I think 3's the number. Set the over-under at 3.5.
I think you have to disagree with me.
Okay? We won't get to 3. We'll set the over-under at 2.5, and I'll say 2. Because
you go over.
For there to be
Not
3.
4?
No way there's 4. No way there's 4. So for 4 teams to go 10-2 in the regular season, mathematically, number one, it's very difficult. It means you've got to have 4 or 5 teams completely bottom out this year in the Big 12. And even last year, when you had a winless Oklahoma State, you had a 1-win Colorado, you had 2 other teams that only had 2 wins, it's very difficult to have that many dominant teams at the top. So, I think the number's 3. But if I had to lean one way or the other, I'd say 2.
Yeah, and I think you're right, by the way, because I don't think the bottom will be as bad as it was this last year
Exactly.
in the Big 12.
Even if Colorado somehow ends up like winless, Oklahoma State's going to win a game.
Yeah.
West Virginia is going to be better. UCF's going to be better. I don't see a lot of room for teams to just completely bottom out this year.
All right. Next topic. Going to the hard court. Which Big 12 men's basketball team has been the most disappointing so far this season?
Disappointing in terms of preseason expectations to where they sit now. Man, I would maybe say my Kansas State Wildcats or potentially Baylor.
Let's get it on!
And Baylor is still top 50 in the country in net. Like there's still so much basketball to be played that I believe one of those two teams can make some noise in this conference. But I'll say Baylor just because of, and this is more of a nod to their basketball history. They've been to 13 straight postseason appearances. They just won a national championship not that long ago in 2021. So to be 1-5 in league, albeit against the toughest schedule in the conference, I've got Baylor is probably my pick.
Let me ask you something, James. Is the glass half full or half empty?
Oh, it's always half full.
So I thought too. This is just a very negative question here. Why do we have to be so negative? Disappointing. Why not? Who's the most exciting team or fun team?
Who's been the biggest surprise in the Big 12?
Biggest positive surprise in the Big 12.
Okay. And who is that?
By the way, I'm with you on Baylor and Kansas State. I think that's the easy answer. But who's the most surprising team in the Big 12 is an intriguing question, because I think how we may have answered that a week ago may be different than how we might have answered that
Today.
Definitely.
Who's the most surprising team?
Who is the most surprising team?
West Virginia.
West Virginia.
They're 4-2 in Big 12 play with the first-year head coach. They had a light non-conference schedule, so everybody wrote them off. They've already beaten Kansas in Morgantown, and to pick up a road win, I don't care if it's against the Morgantown YMCA. It doesn't matter. To win a road game in league is massive for a first-year head coach. West Virginia looks like a tournament team to me.
How about UCF?
Yeah?
How about Kansas?
No. Kansas, throw them out. They do not qualify, nor will they ever.
You like how I tried to shoehorn my
team.
Well, I mean, Melvin Council? Nobody saw Melvin Council coming.
You have Darren Peterson. Surprise team.
Arizona? Is Arizona a surprise team? Is it a surprise that they're 19-0?
Yeah.
Is Houston? No.
Kansas, a surprise team.
Melvin Council? Bryson Tiller? You didn't know who those guys were before the season
Doesn't
started.
matter. They're Kansas. They could be 19-0. They wouldn't be a surprise. Be like, oh, Kansas is back. There's Kansas.
Everybody's wondering, how big of a surprise is Kansas this year?
Yeah,
Everybody wants to know.
That's it.
All right, last topic. This is an interesting one. I think Ari will like this one. If Jock Vaughn becomes the head coach next year at Kansas, will Jeremy Case be hired as a head coach elsewhere?
Wow, that's a lot. There's a lot of what-ifs there.
Let's get it on. It's full of what ifs.
This is like the what-if of the what-if. So
What ifs?
we're retiring Bill Self. We've elevated Jacques Vaughn. We've done no interviews outside. Is Jeremy Case hired elsewhere?
T-Chains, I say no. I say Jeremy Case is on the KU staff. In a world of hypotheticals, if Jacques Vaughn was the head coach, Jeremy Case would be his top assistant. He is Mr. Kansas. He played at KU, was on the 2008 national championship team. He's been on staff for 11 years. He's at the age where he probably could be a head coach somewhere else, at a group of 5 or maybe a D2. Nah, he wants to be at Kansas.
By the way, he's been on staff for longer than 11 years. I mean, he was on the team in 08, but he was really on staff in 08.
Yeah. But didn't he leave after his playing career? I thought he spent like a couple years at Missouri Southern or something like that.
Yeah, no, he did. Let's get it on! When I was a freshman, I lived in a dorm called Naismith, which was right across the street from Allen Fieldhouse. And it was a private dorm.
Oh,
We had a pool.
cool. Wow.
It wasn't,
Wow.
the public dorms had like group showers, and we had a basically like one room, another room connected by a bathroom.
That
fantastic.
surprises me not at all that you were in an elite, pristine dorm in college.
Nobody said anything about that. It was elite. But now the dorm is owned by KU. And I believe it's for like a lot of athletes that use it. But I say all that to say, let's get it on! My freshman year, we're hanging out the first couple weeks at this pool that was at Naismith that we had. And walk in 3 freshmen, basketball players, Jeremy Case, J.R. Giddens, and Omar Wilkes. Remember J.R. Giddens?
Yeah.
He was one of the top recruits.
Let's get it on!
Yeah.
He's now a women's college basketball coach and good dude.
Really?
Anyways, they would hang out. Jeremy Case, J.R. Giddens, and Omar Wilkes. Those 3 guys would hang out all the time at this pool, and we got to know those guys pretty well. It's pretty amazing to me that Case has become what he's become in terms of being a very highly thought of coach within Kansas. Omar Wilkes, by the way, the son of the former Showtime Laker Jamal Wilkes. Omar Wilkes was fairly highly recruited in that same first recruiting class for Bill Self. Let's get it on! And is now an agent. So when you think about, like, Giddens was the most highly rated recruit out of all of them. And he ends up, I guess, third on the list in terms of power ranking them professionally. Though he's had a very successful professional life, too. But, yeah, it's just so interesting to me that, like, this basketball player that really didn't play a ton that I used to hang out with is now, like, one of the most sought-after coaches.
Right?
It's crazy.
J.R. Giddens is the head coach of Albuquerque Prep.
Yeah.
In Albuquerque, New Mexico.
High school girls basketball.
He was the head coach of the women's basketball team at Northern New Mexico College before that. That might be the headline of the day. J.R. Giddens is a high school basketball coach. Did not see that coming.
Yeah.
All right, that's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We've played Let's Get It On. Coming up next, Big 12 basketball Wednesday night recaps. West Virginia, Arizona State. We get sad Bobby Hurley coming up around the corner. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, streaming on your screen on Big 12 Studios.
Their black uniforms, white numbers trimmed in red, and Cincinnati will own the opening tip-off. Harris tries to get it into the front court, and the bounce pass off to Jackson. Iowa State goes to Crooks, left open, will get the game's first bucket.
Well, perhaps not the prettiest of press breakers.
Williams comes right back to Crooks, avoids the double team. The fade, good by Audie.
Audie playing a lot of minutes in Big 12 play, 33 minutes per game in those 7 conference games for the entire season.
And an N1 here, you just never know. So Cincinnati with a different lineup out on the floor. They've got Perry, Jackson, Crawford, Alexander, and Ndiba. And they'll get an and 1 here. Down to 3, Jada fires and hits. What a night! That's the end of the third quarter.
She missed her first 3.
And right back at it, Tbilisi able to knock down the first bucket here of the late quarter. Williams will look to work again on Bird. The crossover and then a little step back, and Jada. A jumper, no good. The rebound putback isn't there. Crooks tipped the rebound out to Beatty. Out in front court, Wilson's 3. Good! 93-68. Jada Williams with the night of nights as the Cyclones
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. We are brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios, streaming on the Big 12 Fast channel with Ari. I'm James, and we welcome in Scott Draper, Big 12 Chief Football and Competition Officer, live in the house, in studio, here in the Dallas area, fresh off the heels of the big schedule reveal. And we were talking yesterday about the Matrix has been out for a while. This is just putting that puzzle together.
That's right, yeah. So the Matrix, which is who plays who and where, has been set since 2023. And so my job each year is to take those matchups and sequence them into the calendar. This year we had a one-bye year, so there's 13 weeks to play 12 games. Last year there were two byes in the last two seasons. The last two were two-bye years, so there are 14 weeks to play 12 games, and that's just the way the quirk in the schedule or the calendar works. And so, yeah, it's just to take those games and try to put them in the best places where they get the most exposure and competitively balance it throughout the season. There's always a rhyme and reason to where the games go and the reasons for certain games in certain places, whether it's a competitive balance, whether it's a travel issue, whether it might be a particular window that we want to elevate it given the network opportunity. So every game has a purpose for why it's where it is, and there's a lot of care and thought that goes into the front and the back end of everybody's games that they're leading into a particular matchup and out of into the next matchup. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's a year-round process. This year we had some unique things, obviously with the London game moving to week 3. We had to force that game in there. There was a BYU Arizona game in week 2, Texas Tech Houston game in week 3 that were built into the schedule before it even started because of some non-conference games that moved around. Of course, then late in the calendar, the Notre Dame BYU series came out. So there's all those kind of nuances to it all that you kind of work through, and got a great team that works around us, great partners, and made it happen.
Scott, I'm not very smart. There are 52 weeks in the year, yes?
Yeah, I think, right?
So
I'm a dumb football guy, so I don't know either.
So explain this to me, the whole 12 Saturdays, 13 I don't get it. Aren't there still it's still the same year. We still have the same amount of days.
Yeah, so you back up Labor Day when there's an extra Saturday in August. That's when you get the extra week.
Labor Day.
Yeah, it's all Labor Day.
So the college football schedule is the same number of weeks this year as it was last year?
Well, it's 14.
There's one less Saturday available within the time window.
That's right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Between basically August and Thanksgiving.
Yeah, back it up from Thanksgiving to Labor Day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
Labor Day's on a...
It's late it's the first week of September, I think.
Got it.
Have I right?
So...
Don't get me to explain it because it'll.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not smart, but I don't understand. The calendar's the same.
It has to do with the number of Saturdays during the season.
Got
That's really what the answer is. And really, if you think about the work that we're all doing, the Football Oversight Committee and all of us kind of charged in the football space to look at the calendar. You've heard a lot about the calendar through the playoff, right? So. What exactly are we trying to accomplish with the season? And I think what we've seen is that 2 byes in a year helps the quality of play, helps the rest, helps certainly those conferences that are coast to coast like ours, Big Ten and the ACC, balance some of the travel. So I think we're certainly supportive of a calendar that expands somewhat to add 2 byes into the season. There's lots of challenges with that. There's lots of questions that we have to answer on the back end, like how do you solve the playoff calendar? So there's lots of work that's going on around that. But it's a nuance to it that happens every, I think, 6 or 7 years. So for the foreseeable future, we're going to be looking at a season with 1 bye.
Okay.
Unless we change it.
So it's more rare to have what we had last year with the 2 byes.
Yeah, definitely so. Yeah, definitely so. Yeah.
All right, so how do you navigate when you look at travel and scheduling road games with teams that are crossing multiple time zones? And it's been well documented that it's much tougher to win on the road when you've got to make a really long road trip. So how do you guys go through all that?
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit earlier, like, the games going into that 3 time zone travel or 2 time zone travel in some cases, and then really the care taken getting out of it. So you'll see when we start working through the midweeks that we're going to have, we'll start doing that in February, March with our TV partners. You'll see some of that kind of play into the sequencing of some of those games. Certainly when we built the schedule, we pre-identified, looked at some games that could be identified to move to an off Saturday, Friday game, and that essentially helps us balance some of that. You'll see some of the games in there that have buys after a long distance trip. So definitely aware of it, definitely think through every aspect of it to make sure that there's care on both sides of the going into the game, because there, those that are 2 or 3 time zones, especially those coming west to east, like to come earlier. So how do they are they able to come on Thursday night, for example? So there's a lot of conversation that happens around it, and for us, just try to do the best we can to balance it. But certainly 2 buys in the season make that much easier for us.
Do we know how many weekday games there will be?
Well, we have to deliver 12 at some point during the season. So where they're going to be yet, we haven't really worked through that yet.
When does that take place?
Yeah, so the process really will be February, March. We'll work with Fox and ESPN to identify those, work with our schools, and then we'll have, they'll draft the games, and there'll be a conversation about where they go, and then we'll release that at some point late spring.
Is there any input invited from schools on this?
Yeah, absolutely. The input from the schools is critical, right? Because they have to feel like they can execute whatever we deliver them, not just on a non-Saturday game, but on a Saturday game as well. They've got campus challenges. They've got homecoming to deal with. They've got, some cases have spring, fall break right in the middle of the season, so they want to make sure that there's care taken, where the students are. Thanksgiving weekend certainly there's a lot of conversation about Thanksgiving weekend because of lack of students. And so, yeah, we spend a lot of time with our schools. I welcome their thoughts and input. I welcome their asks and the needs that they have, because ultimately, if they're successful, we're successful, and so it has to be a partnership. Can't deliver on everything because it's just a math problem at the end. But I do the very, very best I can to try to deliver.
Talking with Scott Draper here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, watching us on Big 12 Studios, Big 12 Chief Football and Competition Officer, going through the Big 12 schedule. The other big announcement was that the conference championship game for this year is going to be on a Friday. You guys will rotate that each and every year between that Friday night spot and Saturday morning. How will that benefit the league? We love it.
Yeah, I think it's going to, when the game moves to Friday, it'll give us a unique opportunity to do some really cool and different things around the game, because, when you're starting the game at 11 o'clock in the morning, local time, the things that you can do on, the morning of, a lot different than you can when you've got a full day and 7 o'clock central kick. So we're excited about that opportunity. We're excited to elevate the game in a whole new way. We've had different teams playing in it every year. Who knows, we'll play in it next year, but certainly if it's 2 new teams and their ability and their fans to experience something different will be really unique for us. We'll always maintain the position as the first, whether it's on Friday or Saturday of the weekend of the Power 4 League. So I look at it as a great opportunity for the league to showcase our bandwidth and things that we can do. If you thought, a Saturday morning championship game was really cool, wait till we do a Friday night championship game at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. So we got a great team. We'll knock it out of the park as we always do. But I'm really excited about the opportunity. I think, there's some precedent from the Pac-12 did it. And so there's we understand kind of the logistical challenges. So we're baking all that into it. But certainly for us, it's just about opportunity to raise the bar even further.
What went into that decision?
Well, it's always a conversation with ESPN. They have, they brought the idea to us, and really for us, we saw it as an opportunity to do something different, certainly. But we didn't really want to give up it in total, the Saturday morning opportunity, because I think there's still balance there for us that we have to manage and understand that, there's some logistical issues moving Friday exclusively. Certainly the Cowboys are a factor in that. Their ability to execute a Thursday game some years is different. So
Yeah, true.
It's a
Great
big
point.
puzzle, and but I think we saw the value in the opportunity, and ESPN's a great partner, and we want to be that for them as well.
The rivalry games, it used to be like everybody had their big rivalry game that final regular season Saturday, and now it's kind of spread out. The big rivalry matchups. So what went into that? We've got like a TCU Baylor week 7, KU K State. The Holy War is week 10, which kind of highlights those matchups.
Yeah, so I think rivalry games are absolutely important, and we have those. There's no doubt about that. You mentioned many of them, but I think because the league has blended over the last few years, there's an ability now for us to create some opportunities, whether they're geographic opportunities and make them rivalry games. And I think defining what a rivalry game is there's playing for 100 years like Iowa State and Kansas State. Same thing with BYU and Utah. I think there's some of that as well. But I think creating geographic rivalries with the schools that hadn't necessarily played a lot, which thinking about West Virginia, Cincinnati is one of those. So opportunity for us to start creating that going forward. I think you'll see us as we look to the future a little bit to emphasize that. I think that's important for the league now that we're established in what we're doing. But I think as a whole, games that high leverage games that are played against a fan base that you've played every year have a lot of interest, and to stick them simply because someone else has called it rivalry weekend in that position, I'm not sure that is the best elevation for those games. I think I've enjoyed those games throughout the season, throughout the schedule, because it really creates storylines in the middle of October, for example.
Right.
I think that's an important aspect of it. There are some other rivalry games, high-profile rivalry games in other leagues that occur on Thanksgiving weekend. So we're trying to balance that as well. But I like where we are. I like what we're doing. Certainly Arizona State has a tradition of being where they are, and we've maintained that. So it's a balance. It's not an all or nothing kind of stop.
Yeah, and I mean, in the same way that ESPN didn't want the ACC competing head-to-head with the Big Ten championship on Saturday night, do we need to have all of our rivalry games competing with the Iron Bowl and Michigan, Ohio State every year too? I mean, it makes total sense to me in that way. Those are intriguing matchups for a national audience that aren't necessarily going to be checking out Big 12 games all year. So to space those out over the course of the season, like there's more interest in the Holy War in Utah BYU nationally than there is in some of these other Big 12 games. So it makes sense to maybe separate that from the Iron Bowl and Clemson, South Carolina, and Florida State, and Michigan, Ohio State.
I love the BYU Utah game late October, early November in Salt Lake City in that area. Beautiful, first of all. The fan bases are energetic and they're into it, and so I think there's a balance for sure. Kansas State kind of occurs in the same time frame, so
sure. There's
definitely pros and cons to it, but ultimately for us it's just trying to make sure that every game gets the attention it deserves.
How does it work, Scott, with blending the non-conference and the conference together? Like, are you guys just completely focused on the conference matchups, and are the schools saying, okay, like BYU wants to play Notre Dame, week 7, or do you guys kind of give them a nudge? Like, how does that all mesh together?
Yeah, good question. So that's somewhat of the secret sauce of the balance of the conference's role in the schedule, right? So, generally we give them some guide rails, like make sure everything's tried in the first 3 weeks. So it helps us kind of build a schedule and create as many holes as possible to get as many conference games in as possible. But I think we found that playing some really good non-conference games in our buildings, and certainly when we go on the road and have success, elevates the league. So we encourage our schools to do as much as they can, given their particular parameters. I think they understand, hopefully from me, that whatever their challenges are, that I'm going to move heaven and earth to try to do that, and that's really what we tried to do with BYU and Notre Dame was give them, the Notre Dame constraints, and the ACC helped because of the scheduling work that the ACC does with Notre Dame. So we have a great partnership with our schools, and certainly when there's some nuances to it, we get other leagues involved, not just the ACC, but everyone has the same issue. We all, within the scheduling guys, we always talk about odd or even, right? If you have an even number of games in any particular week, you don't have to worry about a bye or an odd situation. If you're odd, then you've got a bye or you got to fill it with a non-conference game. So a little inside baseball there in terms of how we build it. But all the conferences look at each other's schedule and say, I can help you here, you can help me here. How do we do that? And ACC certainly did with the Notre Dame game.
How do you feel the 12-team playoff has gone? Obviously there seems to be an impasse between what's been reported by the Big Ten and the SEC in terms of expansion. Would you, where you sit, your opinion, 16 teams for expansion, 24 teams for expansion, and what, I guess, have you advised the commissioner on as he gets together with the other commissioners for these meetings?
Yeah, so that's a commissioner question, probably on the league's position. I know he's talked publicly that 5 and 11, 16 teams is what we've preferred. We've said that since the spring. I think that gives more access to more teams, which I think is a good thing for college football. I think when teams can start the season, more teams can start the season with a legitimate shot at winning a national championship and playing in the college football playoff. That encourages them to do what they can to get there, I think. And then on the heels of what Indiana did this year and others, kind of shows there's a blueprint for it. But the playoffs, the playoff games have been really, really good. This year was really exciting. Texas Tech had a great season, ran into a buzzsaw a little bit in the Orange Bowl, but they're a great team. Texas Tech is, and their ability to reload and they got a taste for it. I think they're going to be right there again. Certainly the others that were just on the outside are reloading. And then there are teams that won 9 and 10 games last year in our league with their bowl win that know how to do it. And so our league next year is going to be really, really deep. And quarterbacks that are coming back, the players and the new coaches that we've added. I think there's going to be some surprises in the league that I think are going to be really good. And again, having an opportunity for those schools to start the season with an expanded field is a good thing. Ultimately, the commissioners have to make that call.
Yeah, but I mean, is 12 okay? Are we cool staying at 12, or would we prefer 16? And is that?
Well, I think Brett said that. Yeah, I think he's said that 5 plus 11 is our position. But again, that there's lots that go into that, certainly. And I think the commissioners are working really hard to try to figure that out. So,
is there any data or information you're equipped with that kind of helps inform you on the 12-team playoff versus the 16? I'm just curious what kind of data you're looking at in your position to inform Brett or the conference what the best move is.
Well, I think if you look at, there's lots of layers to the process, right? So there's the selection process and how many, who gets in, right? So there's a lot of debate about that. And so I think that's one aspect of it, and how can that maybe be improved to include the resumes, legitimate resumes. I think the committee got it right in the end this year. I think they would admit, and probably a little clunky getting into it, but I think, Miami obviously deserved to be in the field, given their season. They got hot at the end, and the quality of players that they had on their team, really, really good. So, it's just about the data points. I think there's lots of ways to get there. Brett's really, really smart at understanding the nuances of it all, and so I don't have to give him a lot because he gets it, certainly. But I try to give him thought starters and some data points, some historical data points on win totals and resumes and that kind of thing.
All right, Scott, as we wrap, with all this done now, do you feel just a huge sense of relief? Like, man, that was a lot of work. I'm glad it's over.
It's interesting. Some years I'm exhausted at the end of it because there's just some challenges that sometimes, like I said, it's just a math problem. Some years it's not as big of a challenge, and so this year was because of the one bye and some of the pre-scheduled games, things just kind of fell in a little bit more than in the past. But I know that every year, there's always going to be nuances to it. So I'm happy that it's out. I'm happy that our schools have it. I'm happy that we're be able to talk about it in early January as opposed to late January, early February like we've done in the past. And so that's always a goal to do it as quickly as possible so that our schools can begin to plan and build out their fan bases, season ticket holders, et cetera. So I'm happy that it's over, but certainly looking forward to the season. And believe it or not, I'm already looking at 2027. So, the process never ends.
Awesome. Well, you crushed it, man. We love the schedule. It's exciting to be able to talk about it. And thank you. Thank you for coming by and joining us in studio live. This has been awesome.
Yeah,
great to see you guys.
Sorry James didn't have any coffee for you.
BYOC, bring your own coffee,
Yep,
right?
that's it.
Okay.
BIOCP, bring your own coffee pods.
pod.
Got it. I'll remember that next time. Thanks, guys. Good
We
to see you.
pod. We pod on this show. Scott Draper, Big 12 Chief Football and Competition Officer here on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. He is the man behind the Big 12 schedule that is out. It is public, and it is a lot of fun here in the Big 12 Conference. All right, coming up next, we'll pivot over to basketball. We've got Fran Fraschilla from ESPN, college basketball analyst. He joins us in about 15 here on Big 12 Radio.
Got to be solid defensively, both in the zone and the man tonight. You got to do it without fouling. You want to keep this Houston team off the free throw line.
In Houston, it was a different cast of characters that led the Wildcats so they come from behind win. Here's Classens driving hard to the basket and finishing.
Great ISO one-on-one.
Here's TK Pitts, who has 4. Ross got great position inside. And there. Wildcats get the rebound, try to turn the tempo up a little bit. They don't have numbers. Sides just lets it go and hits it.
Sometimes it's the secondary look, and that's what you're going to get from Terrence Sides. She's got range.
Hunter on heel, score it! And one! Hunter a chance to tie it at the line with 19 points. Pounded by Peguero.
Just 3 fouls on Houston, so they really have a foul to give.
Classens scores and a foul is called. The worst outcome if you're Houston.
That's where the whistle comes.
Just talking with Lisa Jones. Pitts, free throw. That's a critical miss. Houston on the next foul puts K-State at the line. Heel goes right, not left. Finds Classens up strong. Scores again. Classens with 16.
And Jordan Spicer at the free throw line.
Classens has been a mismatch issue for Houston.
Yep.
But you put it in the hands of Heel, let her make the right decision. As you said, calm.
They've got to be better. They've got to be cleaner all throughout.
Garcia will miss. K-State did not handle that last 20 seconds very well, but they will survive at home and win back-to-back games.
ESPN's Fran Fraschilla will join us here in about 10 minutes on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo. Modelo fan rules. We know that off-season optimism is mandatory, Ari Timken, but also we know that if the game is tied, you must stand. This is federal law. You strike me as a guy who stands whether the game is tied or not.
And gets upset at fans who
Yes.
don't.
You get mad at other people for not standing?
Yeah. It's a thing at Allen Fieldhouse, by the way. The stand versus the non-stand crowd, because you've got, the younger, let's call it more energetic crowd. Then you have the older, more glamorous? No. Richer? And, I mean, obviously when you're, 40s and 50s, you're going to be, you should have more money than when you're, in college. So there's just this dichotomy there between the fans who do and don't stand during situations.
No, I actually meant like when you're watching at home. You strike me as a guy who's just standing and pacing around the living room, whether the game is tied or not.
Why would you think that?
Just energy. Energy.
What
aura.
would lead you to believe that?
Vibes, bro. Am I wrong?
You're just in better position if you're standing.
That's it.
You got to be close to the TV. You got to be standing. You got to really see what's happening.
Lock in.
Why are we talking about me? This has nothing to do with me.
So we'll lock into West Virginia, Arizona State. Men's basketball, it was a light schedule last night on a Wednesday. We had a couple of Big 12 games. Arizona got a win over Cincinnati. West Virginia picked up a huge win on the road at Arizona State because Arizona State was backed into a corner. That is a game when you look at Arizona's schedule, you say Arizona State has to have that one. And West Virginia went on the road and picked up a 75-63 win. Here is Arizona State coach Bobby Hurley after the game. Listen to this.
We got punked down the stretch, couldn't get key rebounds, just where we needed to we made them miss somewhere and we just couldn't come up with a rebound. It's been a consistent theme throughout. Hats off to them. I mean, the shot they made on the right wing from 30 feet as the shot clock was expiring, there's things like that happening which bring the word doomed into my mind. That's the word when I see a shot like that go in, doomed, right? That's come like. We have not played well here in years, since before COVID. We had this place cooking before COVID. Now it's a sterile environment. We don't win here. We don't give our fans any reason to show up with enthusiasm to think that we're going to win a basketball game. And we have been dreadful at home for years. Even the year, I'd have to look at the exact record. The last time we did go to the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago, I don't think we were great here. I think we were better freaking on the road somewhere, anywhere. So this has been going on for a while, and it's not a home court advantage. We can't win here, and bottom line, the light and the tunnel, it's hard to see a lot of light. I love the group, though. This group is far different than some other teams that I've had, that at times might have made me sick to my stomach. This group of people are very willing to try and give what they have. So I am not overly disappointed in that regard. It's just more of the hope. And the schedule has something to do with it. Let's call it what it is. Sending a team to BYU and getting one home game and then two more games against our rival and then one of the best teams in the country all on the road. That's just ridiculous. So all these factors matter in some ways.
Sterile environment at home.
There's a lot there.
Don't win at home. Complaining about the schedule. Likes his team. Likes the guys. They're just not good enough. Arizona State is 10-9 and 1-5 in Big 12 play.
Yeah, I think the comment that maybe resonates the most with me is there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm not sure to what he's referencing because he came on the back end of talking about not having a home court advantage. So he's talking about like he doesn't see any hope for the future of the program in terms of home attendance. It feels like Hurley exists in a space where these things are happening to him and that he's not in any way responsible for them. Right? Like, oh man, our attendance has been really bad since COVID. And I think we made the tournament since then, but we still haven't had a good home environment. It's like, yeah, I mean, people want to support winners. In college basketball, you've got two kind of environments. There's three kind of environments. There's always great, Cameron Indoor, Allen Fieldhouse, right? Some of the venerable venues of college basketball.
Which are
rare, right? And that's, every night there's a game there. It's incredible atmosphere, and you can't beat it. Then there's the Johnny, we'll call them the Johnny Come Lately crowd, which is, hey, this team's good. People are excited. Let's go and support the team. And then there's what Arizona State is dealing with, which is no forward momentum whatsoever and not much enthusiasm for the program. I mean, granted, you've got Kenny Dillingham imploring Arizona State fans to show up for football, and football has had a lot more recent success for which to gather fans. So you got to give them a reason to come, Bobby. You got to give them a reason to come. In terms of the schedule, you're in the Big 12. This ain't the Pac-12 anymore. Every game is tough. Yeah, you get Arizona on the road. Tough game, tough environment, rivalry game. That's welcome to the Big 12, Bobby.
Look at Baylor's schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, Baylor's first 6 conference games were against 4 ranked teams and Kansas.
And Allen Fieldhouse.
Who wasn't ranked at the time.
Yeah.
Everybody plays a tough schedule. Hey, if you're one of the best teams in the league, the schedule's lighter because you're not playing yourself.
And, these things aren't just happening to you. You are a actor within the scope of these things happening. He's clearly frustrated. I'm not sure how much longer he has at Arizona State, but we know also that Arizona State is fully invested from a football perspective. But it's like, yeah, man, you got to make these things happen. Molly Miller is making these things happen at Arizona State right now.
And she's playing in the same arena.
Same arena.
The arena needs a facelift.
Less crowds.
It's getting that.
She's not complaining. She's doing TikTok dances, and she's going to the best teams in the Big 12. Year one. Mm-hmm. Team that was not very good last year. Suddenly very good this year under Molly Miller.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to make things happen.
Are the fans not showing up because you're not winning at home, or are you not winning at home because the fans aren't showing up?
The fans aren't showing up because you're not winning at home, on the road, anywhere.
Yeah. 1-5 in Big 12 play. Desert Financial Arena, I mentioned, is getting some upgrades over the coming years, which it badly needs. But it was 73 degrees yesterday in Tempe. I mean, in Tempe, Arizona, playing an indoor sport, it takes a little extra to get those casual fans in the seat, which means a lot of winning, which Arizona State, as Bobby Hurley noted, has not done much of at home. Meanwhile, it's a big win for West Virginia to go on the road because now they're 4-2 in Big 12 play. They're a monster at home. They had a guy, Trayson Eaglestaff, 23 points. He hit 6 threes last night. The three-point shooting in this conference has been on a whole nother level. West Virginia went 11 of 24 last night from downtown. And then the other game, Arizona pulled away late over Cincinnati. That game was
40-38 at Arizona State. We were just talking about Arizona.
Coming off.
Then Arizona flexed its muscles. We're like, by the way, we're way better than you. And, I don't know that anybody expected Cincinnati to win this game because it was on the road against the number 1 team in the nation who's undefeated.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they really could not hit shots after that stretch. In Arizona, we've talked about this, Cincinnati's offense is really bad. Cincinnati's defense is very good. So over the course of this 40-minute basketball game, Arizona's offense was being stopped by Cincinnati's defense until the final 14 minutes. And then the dam broke and, frustrations, whatever it was, led to Arizona looking more like Arizona.
Arizona dominated in the paint. They had a 48-14 points in the paint advantage. They closed the game on a 20-4 run over the final 10 minutes of the second half, and that is an Arizona team that didn't play at their best the first 30 minutes of the game and then just flexed their muscles. And Tobe Awaka, who was on the show earlier this week, must have had a crystal ball because Mo Krivas, who he was raving about, said he's one of the best bigs in the country, had a breakout game, 17 points.
Yeah, Krivas was great. I mean, again, it was 40-38, and then they outscore him 37-13 to close this thing out. I have a feeling that's going to happen to a lot of teams this year in the Big 12 against Arizona, especially at Arizona.
Fran Fraschilla, ESPN college basketball analyst, joins us around the corner here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Heard exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. Hour number 3, we dive into our Transfer Portal Tracker series. Today's team, the Kansas State Wildcats. But Fran is coming up after this timeout here on Big 12 Radio.
So a 2-0 lead for the Knights. Baylor wearing the home gold tonight has it. Their first possession. There's Talia Scott. There's what we're talking about. Talia Scott, Jana Van Geitenbeek, Bella Fauntleroy, Kirsten Johnson, and Garyana Littlepage Buggs. There's a three. That has up the floor is Christo Asen. And underneath the banker is good to make it 7-4. Swings it right side to Talia Scott. Scott has 10 of Baylor's 16 points. Littlepage Buggs banks in a three. Oh, covers her mouth. Nobody's gonna. 5-point lead for Baylor. 6 unanswered by UCF. There's Jana Van Geitenbeek with her first made three tonight. Offensive rebound pulled down by Kirsten Johnson. Underneath to Van Geitenbeek, she missed it, but Littlepage Buggs an offensive rebound and a putback. Another turnover by UCF, a little too casual with that pass. Here's Scott, drive, left hand layup is good.
And if you haven't watched her play before, you would be wondering how she got to the rim.
Runner, no good by Yancey. Here's a drive by Harmon. Now there's an aggressive drive to the bucket. Anova brings it up for the Bears, gives to Yuting Dunn. Hit a three right before that timeout. Her first points tonight. Abraham fakes left, comes back right. Drive, layup, good by, and big smiles on that Baylor bench. Baylor wins their 7th in a row in Big 12 play. They win tonight decisively over UCF. 73-48, Baylor the final score.
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, watching us on Big 12 Studios. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. College basketball here in the Big 12 with ESPN college basketball analyst Fran Fraschilla. He joins us now in the program. Hey, Fran, good morning.
James, it's a pleasure. How are you today?
Fantastic. We are locked and loaded for the upcoming weekend. ESPN Game Day is going to have Houston and Texas Tech. Speaking of Texas Tech, my goodness. Like, if you bridge the last 9 minutes of the BYU game and the first, 30 of the Baylor game, they outscored those two teams 100-56. It's just incredible what they're doing with Christian Anderson running the show at the point.
Yeah, no question about it. I'm a huge fan of Christian's. Gotten to know that family well. His dad was a terrific European player. You know, a lot of people don't realize that Christian is actually German. I know Anderson is an Americanized name, but Dad, you know, is born in Germany, played in Germany, and then they moved to Atlanta when Dad played college basketball here. But great family. The kid is sensational, and he's even surprised me. I mean, I sang his praises last year, James, as he kind of co-piloted that Elite Eight team with Elijah Hawkins, but really coming into his own. You know, arguably right now an All-American guard, which is kind of crazy because they have an All-American center forward in JT Toppin. It's going to be interesting how the votes go. But they're playing great. And here's the crazy thing. They're still without, you know, a couple more pieces up front. You know, Joe Mosley, the transfer from Villanova, and Bamboye, the VCU transfer, who is a shot blocker, is a rim protector. So kudos to them. I also think Lawan Watts is coming into his own, much the way Darian Williams did when he transferred from Nevada. Lawan is a terrific third piece for that team. And, of course, JT Toppin, you know, it's almost like he's sharing the limelight now with the other two.
Yeah, how important is Bamboye to kind of preserve Toppin, you know, as a guy that can really bang down low and take some of that wear and tear off of him?
It's important because, you know, JT and Christian are playing lots of minutes right now, and there's no signs that they're letting up at all. But I mean, as you know, during a long season, whether it's injuries or fatigue, and also the wear and tear of a league like the Big 12, it does take its toll. But the most important thing, and I talked to Coach McCaslin about this right before the start of Big 12 play, is as much as they have a lot of pieces, they don't have a rim protector. Now, it didn't hurt them as much in the BYU game, and certainly not against Baylor, who doesn't have a lot of depth up front. But, you know, you'll have some teams coming up here like Arizona who can, and Iowa State comes to mind, Florida Badunga comes to mind, that those guys can cause some wear and tear on your front line. So, apparently, every time I go out to Lubbock, like the kids that are hurt are like a week away. So I'm not sure when they're coming back. Maybe they'll come back for game day.
Yeah, I asked Grant about Bamboye, and he just said, I stopped asking. I stopped asking him. I stopped asking the doctors. Like, I just stopped asking.
Right, right. And they don't want that to be a distraction, you know, in the course of a season. Like, it's obvious they have some great players already on the roster that they can beat anybody in the league or anybody in the country. So you just deal with it until hopefully all three of those kids, because Mariel's back now, but he doesn't have the experience to play in these games. But Joe Mosley played a lot of minutes, a young man from Round Rock, played a lot of minutes for Villanova as a freshman. And obviously Bamboye was second leading shot blocker in the country last year, according to Ken Palm.
Well, they'll try to beat one of the best teams in the country on Saturday with Houston. That's the ESPN Game Day launch, if you will. What will be the biggest factor in the outcome of that matchup?
It's a great question. You know, Houston is getting better and better. They're very similar to last year when they started 4-3. Of course, they only have one loss this year to Tennessee. But where they're similar in that is in that we saw them, James, getting better and better as the season went on. Remember, they lost 3 heartbreakers, and nationally, everybody forgot about them, especially in the polls. Well, people realize how good this team is this year because they only have one loss, but those freshmen are getting better and better. And by now, you know, well, even Kelly McCarty's playing well. They have 4 freshmen in the rotation, which is very unusual for a Kelvin Sampson team. But those kids have grown up quickly. And I would say, oh man, the greatest thing about this matchup is there's so many matchups in this game that can be factors in the outcome. The guard play, Flemings and Anderson, Emmanuel Sharp, the size inside, Tugler and JT Toppin. Keep in mind, the last two times they've met, they've pretty much gone right down to the wire. The one win in Houston for Texas Tech last year when JT got ejected for the flagrant two, and then a matchup a couple weeks ago where it was just a rock. We call it a rock fight. When you hear that term, it just means everything about the game is going to be physical, tough. It's not going to be pretty, and I expect this to be the same thing. Now, I would say that somebody like Anderson, Fleming, Sharp, Atwell making key threes. If one of those guys makes 6 threes, that's a huge advantage because it's really hard to get an offensive flow when you're playing both of those teams because they're so good defensively.
Fran, how do you beat Arizona?
Good question. I watched them last night against Cincinnati, and I love the team. I mean, they're number one for a reason. I love everything about them. I think the first thing you got to do is you got to shut off the water inside because they really play from inside out. People say, James, that they're not a great 3-point. You think of Sabonis, you think of Elias Harris, Kelly Olynyk, and that's the same formula that he's brought to Arizona. So the first thing you got to do is match their physicality inside because of the way they play through Pete and Krivas and Awaka. And then I do think you got to hope that they're not on from the perimeter. Got to keep them out of transition because they have a great point guard in Jaden Bradley, and he pushes the pace. But I think ultimately you got to kind of shut off the inside, match them rebounding wise if you can, and hope they don't have a great shooting night because they really do have, to me, 8 starters, or at least 7.5 with Aristotle still getting his feet wet. They're a wonderful team to watch.
Fran, have you caught wind of what Bobby Hurley said post-game last night after their loss to West Virginia?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not even see the score because I went to bed early and I just woke up here in Colorado. So tell me.
Okay, so West Virginia wins the game. Huge win for the Mountaineers. But then post-game, Bobby Hurley had some comments about the lack of home court advantage for Arizona State, and he called the environment sterile and almost it sounded like they don't win at home because they don't have the fans, or the fans not there because they don't win at home. Right. And he even said he doesn't see light at the end of the tunnel. But we were highlighting West Virginia and how big of a win that is for them because all of a sudden, they're 4-2 in Big 12 play, and winning on the road anywhere in this league is massive.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I got to know Grant Hill and Ross Hodge when they were in Dallas at North Texas, and and I'm going to say this respectfully, Darren DeFries never really put 2 feet on the ground in Morgantown. Okay, whatever happened there about him going to Indiana, maybe he knew about it during the season. And you know what? They're getting their comeuppance right now because the Sun's not playing great and Indiana's struggling. And I told Ross, and I say this, and I don't mean to sound smug about this, but Ross and Grant are friends. And when they were talking about Ross's name being mentioned, by the way, they got a great AD in Ren Baker, okay? And he knows what he's doing. And Ross Hodge is a great fit for West Virginia. He's a good old boy, salt of the earth guy. He's not fancy. I lived in southeastern Ohio. When I coached at Ohio U, I've spent many obviously games in Morgantown calling games. These are some of the best people on the planet. They love their team. They're the pro team in the state. It's not a wealthy state as people know, so you have to really embrace being a West Virginia Mountaineer. And if you embrace pepperoni rolls, that's probably even better. The state food. But I'm so happy for Ross because he's the perfect fit for that community and that state because he's a blue-collar, hard hat, coal mining guy, if you will. And so from that standpoint, kudos to them. I love Bobby Hurley. Quite frankly, they haven't created a reason to have a home court advantage in recent years. They've had some good teams, some good moments. And it's unfortunate because it is a hard job now. It is a hard job. College basketball is not the main thing in Phoenix like it is in Tucson, but, it's just a sign of frustration, I think.
Fran, I got to defend you here because I know, there are a lot of Kansas fans that think you hate Kansas. As somebody that knows you, like I could speak, pretty openly that I don't think you hate Kansas. Why do Kansas fans especially, as I'm one, think you hate Kansas?
Well, it's very simple. It really is very simple. First of all, it's about 5% of the Kansas fan base, okay?
Yeah.
So number one, they're spoiled, like Arizona fans are, like Kentucky fans are, North Carolina fans. And they should be spoiled because Kansas is one of the greatest programs, if not the greatest program in the history of college basketball. Maybe John Wooden at Zurich would argue with that. But the other thing is I love having fun on Twitter. I really do. You can tell. I can be sarcastic sometimes. And the simple fact is I represent, when I call games for ESPN, I have been for most of my career, the, quote, Big 12 guy. And so I guess there's a few people in their fan base that don't like it when, on occasion, my very close friend Bill Self makes a decision I disagree with, whether it's signing Nick Timberlake or AJ Storr. I mean, I just call it the way I see it. The other night, for example, and it hurts me to say this, but and it wasn't done intentionally, there were 3 horrendous calls. The referees know it. I know they know that there were 3 calls that helped decide the outcome of that game. And that's just a fact. And if you're not a fan, if you're not an intelligent fan, then you think Fran has it in for the Jayhawks. So I don't think anything of it because I know there are fans in Lubbock, Waco, Ames, and other places that know I call it the way I see it. And when Buddy Hield is really good, back in the day, I talked about Oklahoma when George Niang and Monte Morris and Freddie Hoiberg were kicking butt, or maybe on occasion beating Kansas. I praise them. So the beauty of what I do is I've always had an affinity for the entire league. But having said that,
which you should, by the way, which is an important part of your job.
Yeah, there's no place like Allen Fieldhouse. It's the number 1 place in college basketball. With all due respect, it's the history of the game is there. I'd have to work for a living if it wasn't for Dr. Naismith. Okay, the only losing coach in Kansas history. So they're probably mad they're probably mad. And again, it's a small section, and I do egg them on, as you can tell.
I would too if I were you, though. So I get it.
Yeah, and they love it in Lubbock. Trust me.
And by the way, you call a lot of Kansas. The other thing is, and I tell my friends this all the time that think that you hate Kansas. You call a lot of Kansas. You call a lot of Kansas games.
Well, that too. I mean, listen, people hate Joe Buck in the middle of the country. Right. there are people in that, again, in the central part of the country that don't like Joe Buck is as good as an announcer as there is, but for some reason there are people that, like if you do games long enough, Gary Danielson, the SEC, me, you're gonna tick somebody off. I think nothing of it, honestly. I kind of get a laugh out of it, and I also always remember that Twitter's not real life. But
great
sometimes
point.
I act like it is on there, but I'm only having fun with people.
I can tell, man. You're having fun. Fran Fraschilla from ESPN. Great to see you. Thanks for popping on, and we'll keep rolling through this Big 12 slate.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll be in Provo Monday night. Arizona comes to town, maybe undefeated, and number 1 when they roll into Provo. One of the great places in college basketball, by the way. I coached in the Marriott Center. I'm ready to call my first game in the Marriott Center since I did an NIT game about 7-8 years ago.
Oh, that'll be sweet. We'll lock in for that one. Appreciate it, Fran.
Sounds good, James. All right, man. All the best. Have a great weekend.
All right.
Take care.
Fran Fraschilla from ESPN joining us here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. We pivot back for hour number 3 to our Transfer Portal Tracker series. The Kansas State Wildcats are today, and we'll talk with Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com in just a little bit here on Big 12 Radio and on Big 12 Studios.
Conference play, and we are underway.
Not allowing an easy look by the guard to the rim.
Hamlin for 3, left corner. That's a great sign for BYU, who has really struggled to find the mark as a team from the three-point line.
They are not calling those fouls. They're allowing them to play through it, but Bristow doing a good job holding her follow through the contact.
Olivia Hamlin with the steal on the inbound, and she finishes the layup. Steal and score. Hamlin with 9 first-quarter points.
Averages 2 steals per game, and just an absolute menace defensively once again.
You got to be kidding me. early in the second quarter. Cannon out of a double team has Hamlin. Hamlin got to the rim, no good. Rokel at the offensive rebound and put back. Bristow working on Hudgens. Sonogo, good vision. And there's another three. Too strong on the reverse layup attempt.
Well, they continue to try to get Bristow in there with that mismatch.
Cannon, and one again! Missed quite a few looks at the rim as well.
Bristow's done a really good job. I like her with her length out there, and she can move, but that time getting beat.
BYU happy to pass the ball around and take the clock down to 0. The Cougars
Back inside Big 12 today, where the Big 12 conversation continues here on Big 12 Radio. Brought to you by Modelo, watching us on Big 12 Studios. Part of our Transfer Portal Tracker series. Each and every day we highlight a different team in the Big 12, and today we are with the Kansas State Wildcats. We had KU yesterday, we've got K-State today. Kansas State quietly, according to 24/7 Sports Composite Transfer Portal Rankings Index, has a top 30 portal class, top 6 in the Big 12. New coach, Colin Klein, has added 26 commitments for the upcoming season and a top 6 class in the Big 12, including the Big 12 reigning Defensive Freshman of the Year in Wendell Gregory, who transfers from Oklahoma State to K-State, an NFL-ready elite pass rushing edge guy. I think it starts with him when you look at K-State in their class.
Yeah, I'm just going to take the 24/7 transfer portal ratings and throw them out because they're completely meaningless. They have no idea how you evaluate this. Indiana had the 25th ranked portal class in 2025 and the 30th ranked portal class in 2024. I don't know what they're doing. They're way better at evaluating high school talent, but they suck at the transfer portal. So let's just take the ratings for the transfer portal for 24/7 and throw them out the window.
Okay.
And then let's chase them and then burn them.
Okay.
The ratings because they are meaningless. Let's do our own evaluations of these players. I think with Kansas State, you start with the coaching staff. There's a lot of exciting things happening, obviously, with Colin Klein and his new staff, and I want to get to that. Two players that are very intriguing out of the portal. Elijah Hill, 6'2", 230-pound defensive end from Kennesaw State. Breakout freshman season last year at Kennesaw State, leading Conference USA with 9 sacks and 22 tackles, 11.5 tackles for loss, 37 pressures. He was one of the best pass rushers in the country last year. And so adding him to that Jordan Peterson-led defense will be huge. And they also added Wendell Gregory, as you mentioned. So 2 very young, up-and-coming pass rushers. Huge deal. Love that. They also add Kamari Burns, Austin Ramsey. I love what they did on their defensive line. I also love what they did on their defensive back field in terms of the portal. So Jordan Peterson comes in as the defensive coordinator. Peterson played at A&M in the Big 12, was a 4-year contributor for A&M, and comes over from A&M with Colin Klein. They were very close at A&M, and Peterson is very much from the Elko mold. So I think from a defensive standpoint, I am super excited about what K-State brings from a defensive perspective, which is really interesting because you think Colin Klein, you think about what this offense looked like when he was the OC, and there should be a lot of excitement over the offense. I have question marks on the personnel on offense, though, specific to the wide receiver position. Obviously, quarterback and running back should be very good. Joe Jackson is back. I like what they added into the portal in terms of the production side of it. I have questions about the wide receiver and the offensive line. They added a couple of offensive linemen with production, but like many other programs, they're adding a bunch of cast-offs from the SEC and the Big Ten who haven't played at all.
It's a really interesting blend of proven guys from lesser schools, like the defensive end from Kennesaw State. They added a safety from Miami, Ohio, who has sub 4.4 speed in the secondary. Really excited about him if you're a K-Stater. But then offensively, yeah, the receiving room, you lose Jace Brown. Now Tibbs is back. Bradley could be back for next season. And they've added J.D. Davis, who is a local kid from Dallas-Fort Worth who played at Memphis and was very productive. And then they kind of took some flyers, like Josh Manning from Missouri had a little over 300 yards. He was like their 3rd or 4th receiver. Well, his cousin Taj Manning plays on the basketball team. He was highly touted from the Kansas City area out of high school, 4-star kid. They added a receiver from Texas A&M who comes over with Colin Klein, who barely got on the field this year, but 4-star kid out of high school, top 100 player.
Isaiah Williams, who's actually the son of a former Kansas State defensive lineman, Melvin Williams.
Melvin Williams is his father?
Yeah.
That's a feel-old moment. He was a stud for K-State on the defensive line. But then you brought up the offensive line. A lot of question marks there because Voss has transferred out for K-State. He was one of their better offensive linemen last year. Josh Pastore will be back. George Fitzpatrick is expected to be back, who didn't play a single snap last year, and Chris Kleiman said was their best offensive lineman at media days. Gus Hawkins is a sophomore. He was on the field quite a bit as a freshman. They really like him. But then the cast-offs that you mentioned. Offensive line is like the biggest group where I see that. They've brought in 2 offensive linemen, one from Auburn and the other from Missouri, thank you, that were 4-star kids out of high school and like big NFL-type size, but haven't played.
The one guy on the offensive line I'm very intrigued about is a All-American from Cal Poly, Charlie Adams, 6'6", 325 pounds. Did not allow a sack in 2025, posted a 77 pass blocking grade from Pro Football Focus.
Okay.
So big-time tackle addition who at a lesser level was extremely important. Delvin Morris played in 24 games over the last 2 seasons at Akron, starting 19 of them, but he's versatile. He played left tackle, left guard, and center. And then the most intriguing guy they had along the offensive line is the true sophomore interior offensive lineman, Chase Duarte, who played in 6 games as a true freshman for Mike Schmidt, who's the new offensive line coach at San Diego State. So Schmidt brings Duarte with him from San Diego State, who's a sophomore interior offensive lineman. So some intriguing guys along the offensive line. But I guess I'm more optimistic about the defense. I mentioned Jordan Peterson. I forgot to mention that he was coached under Lance Leipold at Kansas on the defensive side. So he's got some familiarity with this conference, having played it and then having coached in it. And they always seem to have good defensive backs. No matter where he's been, he's had elite level defensive backs. He's a defensive backs coach and coordinator. So I like you brought up some of the DBs they had. To me, in the portal, in looking a little bit deeper than just, hey, here's a former 4-star who comes in from Georgia or wherever. Like, I think they've added the most talent on at the defensive end position and at corner.
Absolutely. And the 2 corners they brought in were very productive. One from Illinois. They brought in a kid from Georgia who didn't see the field a ton. Then they had one other
tale as old as time.
They had one other corner.
Every school in the Big 12 has somebody that went to Alabama, Georgia, or Ohio State and didn't see the field.
Yeah. Definitely. The skill position guys offensively, I think the number one headline might be that K-State didn't have to bring in a quarterback because Avery Johnson's back next year. That's massive. Then they add Rodney Fields, who led Oklahoma State in rushing a season ago with a little over 600 yards, 5 yards per carry behind no offensive line. He's quick, he's shifty. And then they add Jay Harris from Oregon. And it's not so much what he did at Oregon, it's what he did his previous stop at Northwest Missouri State, who won the national championship. He was a Division II All-American, had ridiculous numbers and then crowded backfield at Oregon, couldn't get on the floor. He'll be part of this kind of 3-man rotation at tailback for the Cats.
He did play, though, in the semifinal loss for Oregon against Indiana, where he had 16 carries for 35 yards and a touchdown.
He had 16 carries?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And this was after he announced that he was hitting the portal. So he announced he was hitting the portal. Oregon plays him, 16 carries, 35 yards, a touchdown, which basically represents a good chunk of his total production from last season. But you mentioned it. He was an All-American in 2023 at Northwest Missouri State, rushing for 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns. The reality is, though, the bulk of the carries will go to Rodney Fields and Joe Jackson. Mm-hmm. Anything Jay Harris gives them will be extra because my expectation is that Joe Jackson and Rodney Fields, who, I think he was a 4-star coming out, if I remember correctly. That's, I think, when you look at this offense, the running game, any questions we've had previously about Avery Johnson and when is he going to run? He should be running more. I think Colin Klein will work it in, especially given the strength of this team is going to be in their backfield.
Mm-hmm. Jason Prevard is the other corner who's 6'3", 200 pounds. He's got NFL size, and he was a starter at Virginia.
Jay-apostrophe-S-O-N.
Is it Jason? Is it Jason? Is it Jason? It could be any of the 3.
Could be any of the 3.
I love it.
Could be Jason.
Man, you see an apostrophe, you're like, that dude's good. He's a baller. He's a baller. But he was on the field a lot. And then a defensive lineman, a defensive tackle transfers in from Kentucky, Austin Ramsey. And your note about the defense and the defensive line specifically stood out to me too. They attacked the portal up front defensively, taking a page out of the Texas Tech or any of these other elite Big 12 teams who just had monster defensive lines. I think K-State's trying to do that with their portal class. When they hit the field, time will tell if that actually comes to fruition.
A couple of freshmen I'm intrigued by. They added one 4-star linebacker named Lawson McGraw, 6'4", 215 pounds, out of Blue Valley West High School in the Kansas City area. And then a intriguing prospect who's Swedish, Adrian Bicabele. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. 6'3", 290 pounds. He's a 3-star, but was recruited by Florida and Georgia as well as K-State. He's a Swedish defensive lineman, so I think that one's an intriguing prospect as well. And then I look at their coaching staff. You mentioned Jordan Peterson taking over as the defensive coordinator. Then they add, Christian Ellsworth is the quarterback's coach who jumps over with Colin Klein from Texas A&M. How about Sean Gleason, who's going to be the offensive coordinator? Now, Colin Klein, I would imagine, would call plays, but Gleason's going to serve as the OC by name. Gleason famously went from Princeton to Oklahoma State, where he organized the Oklahoma State offense, and has been most recently with Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri. So I kind of love that. He's already been around a head coach that calls plays, but I think will infuse some new ideas for Colin Klein. And then Thad Ward is a guy that associate head coach, wide receivers coach, comes in from Illinois, but has a long experienced history with Colin Klein, which is the reason he's the associate head coach. Thad Ward, for me, I'm not totally optimistic about this team from the standpoint of the wide receiver position, but Thad Ward to me is a guy that if this wide receiver position were to exceed expectations based on personnel, he's going to be the reason for it.
They've brought in a boatload of receivers. It's just who are going to be the guys that break out, you know? Like, they've brought in 4 guys. They just added a kid from Hawaii less than 48 hours ago who started his career at Kentucky, Brandon White. He's only about 5'8". He's quick. He's shifty. He's a slot guy. Had 400 yards at Hawaii. So they're not adding guys that were 1,000-yard receivers like some of the other schools in the Big 12, and they've added some guys that weren't quite ready yet at bigger schools. And so it's just of that group, who's going to break out for K-State, and receiver's been an issue. I mean, the last several years, it was like Jace Brown and nobody else.
Yeah. Joshua Bannings, you mentioned him too, from Missouri. Same kind of like mid-level production, but the familiarity with Gleason, right? Like sometimes when coaches come over from different programs and they bring guys with them, you know, it says a lot about how those coaches feel about those players because they've been around them.
Yeah, that should help a ton.
Yeah.
And Peterson, he was a stud at Kansas, K-State's new defensive coordinator, because he coached the secondary, and KU had a massive uptick when he was there.
Yep.
He developed Melo Dotson. He developed Kobe Bryant. He developed NFL dudes from that KU secondary. And KU fans were pretty fired up. Like, they didn't want to see him go. And he goes to Texas A&M, and now he's at K-State, their rivals. So that's a good thing for the Wildcats.
Yeah, big fan of Jordan Peterson. Think it's going to work from a defensive perspective. I would say, you know, I went into this before kind of digging into K-State last night thinking, you know, I was going to be enamored with the offense and came out of it like, whoa, this defense is going to be salty.
Yeah.
They added 2 young pass rushers who are elite and have already shown it with production at this level to, you know, and then complement that with, I think, a very, you know, meat and potatoes defensive coordinator who's able to be multiple enough to be versatile, but also has a history here that suggests there are certain things that they're going to excel at.
Like Wendell Gregory, I'm going to pull up how many games he played in last year for Oklahoma State because he's the Big 12 Freshman of the Year. And I don't think this is right. It says he played in 12 according to College Football Reference, but I know he missed at least 1 or 2 early in the season because he wasn't healthy. He wasn't 100%. But he's a dude. He's like 6'3", 245 pounds, and major addition for the Wildcats defense. Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com, the publisher of GoPowerCat.com on 24/7 Sports, will join us coming up around the corner to give us the inside track on the additions, how's the staff coming together, what he knows behind the scenes in Manhattan, Kansas, for Colin Klein and the Kansas State Wildcats. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo here on TuneIn.
At home against the then number 2 team in the country, now facing off against the number 1 team in the nation for this Arizona Wildcats team. Caden Bradley, though, the senior. Karchenkov into the paint, and the easy put in.
Although I could say that about half of Arizona's roster.
Wow! Oh my gosh! Take cover!
Yeah, that's a huge Coach Bill. By the way, Coach Pete turned 19 years old yesterday, so happy belated birthday to him.
Well, this is a sight for sore eyes for Cincinnati. Ball in his hands now. A little bunny and a good touch there. Bob Miller with 6 early. It's an 11-1 run for the Bearcats. Miller. Abayev. Oh, he's hot.
Shooting the basketball right now, and we saw it last week against Arizona State as well.
They double Krivas. He's able to split the double and find 2. 2-point game. Krivas.
Yep.
with the touch. 7 on the shot clock. Miller finds an opening, and it's rejected at the rim by Owaka.
The freshman that comes off the bench for Arkansas would be another guy.
Pete. Oh, wow. How did he put that one through? Cincinnati able to hold the Wildcats to 77 points, but far too much tonight as number 1 Arizona remains unblemished. 19-0 for Tommy Lloyd's Wildcats, a 77-51 win.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo. Our Big 12 basketball game of the week on Saturday is Houston at Texas Tech. You can hear it right here on the channel. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. He's Ari, I'm James, and we welcome in Tim Fitzgerald from Go Power Cat and GoPowerCat.com on 24/7 Sports. Hey, Tim, good morning.
Good morning, boys. How are you?
Man, we're fired up about this K-State recruiting class. Part of our Transfer Portal Tracker series is looking at a different Big 12 school each and every day. And I think the biggest addition for K-State is a guy who was on the team last year in Avery Johnson. So what can you tell us about what went into the decision for Avery Johnson to come back and just what you're hearing about his growth and relationship with Colin Klein?
Yeah, I think this, that was certainly an important step. You want your starting quarterback, and I think this was possibly the only scenario in which Avery stayed at K-State for his fourth season was the return of Colin Klein, and that took place. And that's a great stabilizing force. And plus, I think we're all interested to see what Avery looks like as a starting quarterback with Colin Klein, because his 2 years as a starter were with Matt Wells and with other guys, Connor Riley and Matt Wells, calling plays. So we want to kind of see the more complete form of Avery Johnson with his original recruiter who understands how to use him and has the schematics to make the most of Avery Johnson's career. So this is going to be very interesting.
I'm curious, Tim, but I kind of dove into my deep dive into K-State last night, excited about looking at the offense, and I came away really excited about the defense. Jordan Peterson, him coming in, his history, Elijah Hill, who they added from Kennesaw State, Wendell Gregory, who we saw at Oklahoma State. Like I think the corners they added, feels like K-State defensively is going to be really good, and that should maybe be the headline because Colin Klein is the head coach now.
They had some bleed off on the defensive side. They lost 2 edge rushers to Indiana. They had a number of guys. Of course, Austin Romaine goes to Texas Tech. We've got some other guys that have bled out across the conference and country, and they needed to plug some holes. And I think Jordan Peterson, being on hand as one of the first coaches, the defensive coordinator for Kansas State, made a world of difference. It was, having him there to clearly evaluate and get on board with who he was bringing in. They needed some weapons. They need to be able to attack an opposing offense, and honestly, they got watered down pretty good by the portal. So, the end result of a portal recruiting class is you don't have a clue how it's going to come together. It can be talented and not work, and it can be okay and, possibly win you a national championship. So the portal is just a wild unknown, and we'll see how it goes. But I think K-State feels pretty good about what it did on the defense side of the ball.
Is Wendell Gregory the headliner, the reigning Big 12 Freshman of the Year, transfer from Oklahoma State, was a 5-star out of high school when he committed to South Carolina? And, what does he bring to the table for that K-State defense?
Yeah, I think on the defensive side, he would be considered that by K-Staters because he is known. I mean, he just played, 4.5 hours south of here, and it's they played against him. They know him, and seeing him around the league playing for a really bad team, he still stood out, and that always says something about you. So I think K-Staters are excited about that, but they also know that these are, for the most part, we're seeing some changes around college football, but 1-year contracts, and so you could invest your emotions into a young man, and a year from now he's saying, "So long, I'm going to go get money somewhere else." And I think that's damaged college football. And but Wendell Gregory, I think, probably is the one that the fans point to on the defensive side of the ball. Certainly.
Talking with Tim Fitzgerald is in our portal discussion, off-season previews, if you will. All right, from an offensive perspective, Tim, I think quarterback and running back, those I'm excited about, intrigued by. What about wide receiver and offensive line? What do you see there? Who intrigues you there?
Again, name recognition. Joshua Manning from Missouri was someone that, when Avery Johnson was recruited, they thought he would be in that recruiting class. It ended up being Jace Brown as the star receiver. So getting him, I think, feels like it completed a loop. How effective he'll be, he's much different than Jace Brown. But I think K-State's looking at him as someone that can expand their role in an offense because Missouri really didn't use him a ton. He was effective when he was on the field. But as I said, he's a different receiver, but he does some things that Kansas State certainly needed for this. And offensive line-wise, I think they're shifting excuse me, I think they're shifting their focus to a little more athleticism. And they liked what they brought in the recruiting class, the previous staff. Brian LePack, who's still on the staff, brought in along the offensive line, and I think now they've supplemented it with some players that fit what they want to do on the offensive line. And I don't think that work's probably even close to being done. That'll be a multi-year task to really get the offensive line where it needs to be.
Tim, what is the wide receiver room going to look like? Because you mentioned Jace Brown is out. They add Manning. They add this kid from Hawaii, among others. So what's your breakdown of that position, and could it be better than it was last year, about the same, or do you think there's a drop-off?
Well, I think they're aiming for better. I don't see it right now, to be real honest. But you also have development of players and who kind of makes a breakthrough. We'll find out. But it certainly is an area of concern for me, to be real honest. And I think they do need one more dude. They've tried to replace Jace Brown by here's the speed guy, here's the big play guy, it's 3rd and 8, who we're going to throw to, and maybe here's the deep threat, and try to do it by committee. But I think they do need one more talent to kind of pull it all together.
Avery Johnson is really intriguing to me because I'm with you in terms of would love to see what this thing looks like with Colin Klein, because in the brief time we saw it with Colin and K-State, it looked good. Kyle, what's your evaluation of Avery Johnson? Has he been a disappointment, do you think, so far in his career?
I think by the measurements we gave him, yeah, he has been. By reality, his stats say he's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I think there's some things about the quarterback positions that are more about nuance and a feel for the game rather than stats that he struggled with. And I think Colin Klein would have probably done a better job with him, to be blunt. And also, I don't think that last year in particular, they understood how to block for a quarterback run game. And I think that'll return. But I think Avery getting Colin Klein back was the best case scenario for this young man, because Colin Klein truly believes in him, believes he can play at the highest level, and now we'll give him kind of the system that'll allow him to thrive, and we'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah, Tim, you mentioned the offensive line, and they're recruiting a different type of offensive lineman. Is it an offensive lineman that knows how to block as part of the quarterback run game? Do you see the reemergence of that aspect?
I think so. I think, in traditional Bill Snyder offense run schemes, you see a lot of pulling, a lot of guys. You got to be a very mobile guard and center. They'll pull any of them, and it requires some athleticism and some discipline to do it in the right way at the right time and get there without falling on your face. So having that ability certainly has been a valued thing in the portal for offensive line, the mobility, and new offensive line coach. We'll see how it all comes together.
What do you make of the schedule, Tim?
It's very interesting to me because it's very manageable. You look at it and you immediately don't see Texas Tech or BYU or even Utah, who's a little bit more of an unknown. So they kind of got a nice little window there to, have some success. But also, you look at the schedule as it sits now, the biggest game for me is the last one at Iowa State. You don't know what Iowa State's going to be like. You don't, there's so many unknowns in that. But, two of the other teams, the risers in this conference on that schedule, Houston and Arizona, are in Manhattan. So I think this schedule lends itself to success. But because of a weak non-conference schedule, weak by, not playing a kind of established Power 4 team, Power 5 now, going back to that, they have Washington State, which counts, but does it, and so you've got to run that table and run it emphatically, or you're going to hurt yourself with the non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, Tim, while we have you, I know we're talking transfer portal stuff, but there's a big basketball game on Saturday. KU and K-State in Manhattan. Jerome Tang is somehow 3-0 against the Hawks in Manhattan. What is the deal with Kansas State basketball being 1-5 in Big 12 play, and where do you see Jerome Tang and his K-State tenure?
Well, they've now had some injuries. Abdi Bashir, their best outside shooter, is gone for a month plus, but he's also their worst defender. He had a horrendous foul at Oklahoma State that literally cost them the game. But replacing his offense will be impossible. And they're going to go through a little adjustment period here. They played well enough to win against Utah, who's not very good, but you did that without Bashir, and you're also missing Kamari McGriff, your best interior player, and they're already thinned out there. This isn't a good team, and it's not good not because it doesn't have talent, but it doesn't have any sense of how to play defense as a team, let alone individually. Some of these guys don't even know individual defensive schematics, fundamentals that after coming from Europe. It's been really fascinating to watch. I didn't realize European players were this harsh word, but ignorant on how to play defense, and it's painful to watch. I foresee a not close game. Let's put it that way. On Saturday with Kansas, if we get to play it, we're staring at a foot to 2 feet of snow between now and then. We'll see what Mother Nature brings, but at least it's a short drive. Nobody's flying anywhere, so that's hopeful that this game will get played.
Yeah, hope so. The Sunflower Showdown on the hardwood on Saturday. All right, Tim, man, great insight. Great to see you and hear from you, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, boys.
Take care, buddy.
All right, see you, Tim.
Be well.
Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com breaking down the Kansas State Wildcats transfer portal class here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. We are powered by Modelo on the audio side, and coming up next, we will wrap up the show with the final whistle. He's Ari, I'm James. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios.
With Arizona, his 11th season with the Sun Devils, 3 NCAA tournaments. We are underway here in Tempe. It's a great point against Colorado. They scored more than any time in the season with less than 4 on the shot clock. Knocking down a 3 and answering. Mo Odom from the Bronx drops it off for Jop. Ross Hodge said this guy could play for 10 years in the NBA. He's got that kind of ceiling.
He stayed out and did some drills, like hard drills, not just me and you shooting around. Like they went out and did some stuff, and I think they wanted to build up a sweat Eagle staff right out of the timeout. It would have been a travel, so we had to put it up kind of quickly.
The basketball gods, I think, knocked that one away. And the basketball gods smiled.
He's got the floor clear. I think he wants it again.
Step back. Straightaway three is buried by Brennan Lorien. Shot clock at 5. Floyd has it again. Long three, perfect. Wow. We'll be trying to match wits. And right now, West Virginia with the advantage that has grown to 10 points.
This is what they do. They play a lot of late shot clocks, so it should be very comfortable for them.
That is a great point. As Lorien makes it look easy under duress.
After a win, I've heard friends that have been in those and what it's like. And it's an insane feeling, I know, because it's a week of prep, but road wins in college and the Big 12 are big.
Exclusively on TuneIn, and if you're watching us on Big 12 Studios, you just saw highlights from West Virginia's men's basketball win at Arizona State last night. My number one takeaway from that game is that West Virginia needs to wear those Jerry West royal blue throwbacks more often and make that their primary blue color. All sports. It pops, the royal blue from back in the day.
I agree.
Not too far off from that hoodie you've got on today.
I agree. We're in an age now where navy blue just not cutting it anymore.
Too old school.
Just to stand like, oh yeah, navy blue. What do you know?
That
Everybody's navy blue.
It's only cool when BYU does it, right? Because it's not their primary color. It's a throwback blue.
No, it's a cooler looking blue.
When they do the navy.
It's a better looking blue.
The royal blue?
Yeah.
Agreed. I have a royal blue T-shirt. My wife won't let me wear it because she says that it hurts her eyes. It's too bright. It's too bright. All right, so we got this winter storm moving in. Man, it's going to blast a big chunk of the country.
Have you done your shopping yet? Have you made sure to get your supplies? Have you supplied up?
I'm running a lot of errands today because it's coming in tomorrow. My wife just hit me with the I'm headed to the store text.
You might be a little too late.
Too late?
I don't know if you've seen the stores, but they've been picked through.
Oh, too late on getting to the grocery store. Yeah, my wife, she's on her way right now.
Yeah, good luck finding anything. No, I mean, I hope there's food. I mean, look, worst case scenario, you're always welcome at my house. Just you, though.
Just me.
Things go south and be like, hey, guys, I got to go. I'm going to go to Ari's. You guys are fine, though, right? You're all set.
I'm not sure I'll make it. It's supposed to be gnarly this weekend. It's supposed to be nasty. All right, major winter storm. It's going to slam millions across the south. Dangerous ice and snow from right here in Texas to the southeast coast this weekend. Games that could potentially be impacted in the Big 12. Tim brought up KU and K-State on Saturday. But you've also got like Iowa State plays at Oklahoma State, TCU at Baylor, Houston at Texas Tech. Now that game, that's ESPN Game Day. They're playing that one, no doubt. But Houston, they're not allowing their Texas Tech, I should say, they're not allowing their students to camp out because of the frigid, below freezing temperatures in Lubbock.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be really cold where it traditionally is cold this time of year in the north, and then extremely cold where it's usually not so cold here in the south. And I think I brought this up, but I had a dishwasher. My dishwasher leaked, and so my kitchen's demoed right now.
Did you?
Yeah.
No, this is the first time I've heard it.
You're smirking your face. You've got a really bad poker face, James. I mean, you ever done dishes in your sink in your bathroom?
Oh, God, that sounds terrible. That sounds horrendous.
I mean, you're very condescendingly looking at me like what I'm going through right now is not a big deal.
No, it is a big deal. It is a big deal.
You got
It is a huge
plastic,
deal.
zip up plastic between all of the entrances to my kitchen right now. I want to get to my fridge. I got to open up this plastic area because it's all demo. There's dust everywhere.
All right, that sounds pretty serious.
Yeah, serious business,
That
bro.
sounds a little more serious than I was picturing in my mind.
I'm going to have to move out for a month at least.
I will say, and I feel a little bit bad now, especially with this storm coming in. What are you
Right,
going to do?
exactly.
What if there's no running water?
Well, I'm a little bit prepared for that, I suppose, but can everything preemptively demoed? But it'll be very interesting. I mean, I would advise people, if you have not already, stock up on food and stuff, but
some of these
might be too
weather
late.
reports are so over the top. I love the way that you broke it down with it's going to be really cold where it's normally cold, and then where it's not normally cold, it's also going to be cold. That's all I need.
Yeah.
That's all I need. Like, we're not going anywhere this week.
Just really cold.
We can't go anywhere this week.
So just a lot of live, laugh, love at home.
Yeah. So when America is snowed in, here are things that people do.
Okay.
Number one, we panic buy groceries. I mean, the apocalypse is coming. We panic buy. Everything that we might never need, we're buying.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some social media clips already of some of the supermarkets around this area, and it's as if people think that they're not going to be able to eat for years.
Yes. Yes. Spot on.
Save some for the rest of us, please.
Right. Yeah.
Selfish people.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just get everything I need. Let me get 15 pounds of pork. I never know when I might need that much pork for 3 days being snowed in.
3 tops, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. The thermostat becomes a moral dilemma. 72 feels reckless. 68 feels responsible.
What?
65, it's character development.
James, it's going to be
Character
below
development.
It's going to be below 0 with the wind chill. Okay, it's 73 at a minimum.
A minimum?
Are you trying to freeze to death?
Coming over to your house?
You trying to get frostbite in your own house?
Sounds like a sauna. That's nutty. 73. Oh, man.
Well, yeah, when you sleep, though, you turn it down.
Got it. Open the fridge every 12 minutes. If you're snowed in, that's a thing. You go to the fridge, you open it every 12 minutes. Nothing has changed since last time. Everything is still there, but hope is a powerful thing. I might get hungry. What do I need to hit in the fridge? A lot of texting this weekend across America. People will be texting people they haven't talked to in years. Everybody's bored, sitting around. Storms turn everybody into, I've been thinking about you lately.
It's sort of interesting because I feel like, as somebody that grew up in the North and lives in the South now, like, this is kind of like a Mason-Dixon line thing. Like, it's going to be really cold.
Yeah.
And icy and snowy in the North where it is this time of year normally.
Yeah,
so
but they're used to it. They're prepared for it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the infrastructure in place helps that. Like, we are going to be potentially really snowed into the fact, like, you can't get on the roads and go anywhere. The city completely shuts down. Like, in Chicago, where I grew up.
Oh, this is par for the course.
And if you're outside for 10 minutes, you could get frostbite. But other than that, like, be it in a car, you're fine. Like, things move on. But here it'll be like a post-apocalyptic world. Nobody will be out. People will just be walking on the streets in snow gear, looking for places to sled.
Yeah. It's going to be quite the scene.
Lots of booze, lots of Modelo's. Modelo's up the wazoo. Tell Lacey. Modelo. If there's nothing else to get at the store, get Modelo.
Modelo is king.
We never have too many Modelo's when you're snowed in.
I would say, all right, over under 50% chance that we are here in studio Monday. Think the roads will be good by Monday morning?
I'd say it's a coin flip.
Yeah. Kind of feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, if we get what we're supposed to get, it would not be safe regardless of what the roads look like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not coming in on Monday. I'm not driving with Texans. No, they don't know. They don't know how to do this.
Dude, my first winter storm down here was so eye-opening. I could not believe it. Because even in Kansas, they're ready for it. Like, they're salting the roads. Everybody drives like it's no big deal.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
Down here, I was like, what is this?
It's basically like aliens have landed and the world is ending and everybody fending for themselves.
Yes, like a light dusting of snow. It wasn't even sticking. It's just kind of wafting around.
When I lived in San Antonio, there was a threat of snow and they closed the highways. You couldn't get on the highway.
Because of a threat.
It was nice out, and it was like, you can't get on the highway. What are we doing here? Oh, just snow and ice preparations.
It's amazing.
Wow. I mean, okay, I guess that's what we're doing now. It's yeah, it's going to be wild. I saw in some projections it could get as low as minus 30 in Chicago with the wind chill. So it's going to be cold.
Minus 30.
But is there like a small kind of in the back of your mind, like
chance that it doesn't happen?
They're going to be wrong.
Totally.
They're going to be like, anytime it gets like super extreme where you see like graphics that are like, it's going to be this cold and blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, it seems a little bit much.
Yeah.
Like maybe tone it down a little bit.
Yeah. I don't follow any of that stuff. In fact, first time I actually like looked at the forecast was 8 minutes ago preparing for this segment. I know it's going to be cold. That's it.
I think that's obvious, James.
Now, one of my other favorite things to do is to stand at the window like it's a nature documentary. Power pose, standing at the window, hands on hips.
Just
still
looking.
cold? Still cold? Still bad?
Just kind of looking off in the distance. You feel the cold radiating from outside.
Just like a little refresh. About every 10 to 15 minutes, we stand at the window. We investigate the neighborhood. We don't go outside.
And then you do
We're going outside.
You do it. What's the acronym? The heavy sigh, size per segment.
Yeah, size per segment. SPS.
You do like a
big sigh. Big sigh. How many times will your kids ask you if they have school Monday? When does that kick in?
I mean, as soon as
that's already being discussed.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a good chance it could be canceled for Monday on Friday.
On Friday,
like
tomorrow.
Like, I'm assuming that when they leave Friday, we may have a sense of what would happen Monday. Having been through this before.
Okay, good to know.
Meaning, if we actually get some of the weather they're expecting to get us on Friday, then they'll already know by Monday they're not going to have school.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I give it about a 20% chance they're going to have school on Monday.
20% chance. Ooh, that's low. That's low. I mean, this is one of my first winter storms down here. You know, this doesn't happen super often.
Well, it's obvious you haven't gone shopping yet, so you're waiting until the morning before when everything's already been picked through.
All right, so Ari tip number 1, got to get to the store immediately. Early, okay?
You'll never be upset if you have enough food or too much food. It'll get eaten.
That's a good point. I like that. I like that angle. Do you and your wife, this is one of the most argued about things during a winter storm between couples, is arguing about whether it's safe to drive. Regardless of trip. Is it safe to drive?
No.
Not at all. Just popping down the street.
The people in this state love Texas. Big fan of Texas. Do not know how to drive on a good day. People in the state don't know how to drive on a good day. Okay, so when there's ice, I know how to drive in ice and snow. I'm worried about the other people that have no concept or clue or idea of how to do it. Mm-hmm. If I was on the road by myself in these conditions, it's always safe to drive. But I mean, simple fact, you got to brake early. Anticipate and brake early. Number one fact about driving in ice and snow. Mm-hmm. Brake early.
Yeah.
You'll never regret braking too early. You will definitely regret braking too late.
Oh, yeah. That's great advice. I like it.
Brake heavy on turns.
Okay.
These are all basic things that when you grow up in a place that has ice and snow a lot, you know and understand. Because what happens is if you brake too late and you feel it that first time, you won't brake too late again.
Oh, yeah. No, you won't. All right, KU and K-State is Saturday. Are you and I going to have a side bet going?
Did you even pay up the last side bet?
I won.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
I don't remember, but I won. I know that.
I feel like we did another side bet that you lost and you never paid up.
That's not true at all. I always pay my debts.
Just a clean $5,000 in the game?
Yeah, just $5K.
Just $10K?
Yeah,
Is that
maybe 10.
A little
maybe
too
10.
rich
Yeah,
for your blood?
No, that's fine.
I'm very
change.
curious
Jump
to
change,
see what the spread will be on that.
Same. That's what I'm thinking. Will it be double digits?
Yes. I would think so.
I don't know, man. I bet it's not. I bet it's KU by 7 or 8. Be my guess. What are you looking at?
I got the perfect shirt for you.
What is it?
Oh, it's
What
no.
is it?
No, I'm not gonna. It's got to be a surprise.
Oh, okay. All right. I saw a heart on there. I know. I like it. Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it. All right. We'll be breaking down all the games that take place on Saturday. KU and K-State.
Just remember one thing: live, laugh, love.
Love. We'll do it again tomorrow from 8 to 11 Eastern Time. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westleen for Taman Turner. On the audio side, our producer for Anthony Smith on the Big 12 Studios side. We're out of here. We'll talk to you mañana.
Peace.